The next thing I want to talk about are just high level, the classic conversation around events is all about. Max, what is it?
The I, the R, the O, the I.
Yeah.
The R,
The
the
R,
O,
the
the
O, the
I.
I.
The thing we get talked about so much, right?
Amen.
Yep.
You know, it's a big deal. And okay, this is not rocket science equation. Not apologizing for it. But the biggest thing we as event marketers and event people are not doing is naming the I, naming the investment so we can define the return. That
Yeah.
was the first thing, Max, when you showed me Event Happily, that caught my eye was that ease of use. So
Yeah.
if we wanted to keep it easy, bucket A, the cost of producing an event. Bucket B, your marketing budget. You add those two things together and you get C, which is your total investment. When I talk about iteration and building more complex systems, this is what I'm talking about. This is level one. Start here. And then Max is going to show you in a couple minutes that you can get far more granular, which, you know, the Ambers and the Nicks on my team must have. I'm like a keep it top level kind of guy. So I'll start here.
Chris, can I ask you about ROI for a second? Because this is it.
I think so.
This is the one thing like that I kind of notice is that when people say we want to measure the ROI of an event, I find that there's some people that are like quite literally, I would like to measure the dollar amount that we paid to put the event on versus the amount of money we made because of it, and do a very straight line equation of a percentage of ROI. Like I've seen those
Shout
people,
out CFO.
right? Shout out CFO. But then I think like what's interesting is like the R, like the return in HubSpot land. That's your deals. That's money. It's things with a quantifiable dollar amount, right? But I think sometimes, have you seen people kind of like quantify return like differently besides dollar amount, right? And like try to measure other stuff? Or is it quite literally mostly just like, we want to see how much money we made from this event? Like, what have you like, how have you seen people kind of like define ROI a little bit differently, you know, talking to folks about events in the past?
No, great question. I mean, there are a lot of ways, and this is the most simple way. You have the cost and the things and the contacts and what deals are generated. But I am a huge believer when it comes to marketing and branding and events that influence pipeline is a real thing. And the person that signs the deal may not be the person that attended the conference. And so in being able to track influence revenue, at the company record, having contacts that participated in any of the marketing channels is slightly more complicated to set up just because of the nature of needing to think through the nuance of it. But to me, that's the biggest impact.
Yeah.
And whether we're talking ABM or any sort of like direct sales marketing effort to generate revenue, no matter how experienced and educated the senior leaders that I work with, there's always somebody that's going to use the word quick. We want it quick. And relationships, really strong relationships, are rarely immediate. And so the native tools within HubSpot compared with using Event Happily just add a layer of sophistication to your data to really help paint like a more real story that will serve you as event people to get more budget and to do more events, because this stuff works. Like relationships are real. And thank God we now have the ability to go back and just hang with people and talk shop.
Yeah.
It feels great.
Yeah. And it's like I think the other thing that I would like tell folks is like, I think it's okay if you're measuring your return a little differently than a dollar value from a deal. For example, your return just might be, we got X amount of leads from going to an event. Those don't have an inherent dollar value on them, right? But like, we might want to know that, right? And maybe so look at ROI as more of like a cost per lead, right? Like we spent $10,000 on the booth and we got 100 leads. I don't know. I mean, I should be able to do the math. I'm not going to do the math because I'm going to get it wrong and embarrass myself in front of people. But you know, it can be other stuff. Like, and the beauty of this is like, since you're doing it in HubSpot, like if you were a software company, like the return could be like, how many new signups did we drive to our software because of this webinar that we did, right?
Yeah.
And thanks to HubSpot's like ridiculous level of customization and reporting and all this crazy stuff you can do with it and its flexibility, you could quite literally blend that into like your ROI reporting, right? Because you can connect all this stuff in HubSpot because we're building this in HubSpot. right? Versus it being detached in a different system somewhere in Eventbrite land or something like that, right? So,
and you get to choose from all the cute different types of graphs and reporting for
yeah,
whatever story it is that you're trying to tell. But I think that's a really, really good point.
yeah, cool. I was just curious because, like, I know it's just everyone. The one thing that this is what I'll say, it's frustrating being in this space, Chris, is everyone does event management differently. And I've
I'm
had to like
sorry.
do a lot of work. I've had to do a lot of work making myself okay with that and learning from that, right? But anyway, I'll let you continue.
No, I mean it feels good being able to play into my past life and
Mm-hmm.
like kind of rehash some of those experiences, some traumatic, most less
Mm-hmm.
so, and see now with an operational mindset how we can have impact. But I still think it goes back to just like as event people, there's an uncomfortability with technology and tools. It's difficult to talk to the RevOps team. There's a level of sophistication that is felt like is needed, and if we just get into the tools and start getting comfortable, just like we have all done with Gmail,
Yeah.
it'll be fun.